Let me ask you something. Have you ever played a game from the 80s and felt like you were holding a time machine in your hands? I mean, think about it, those early PCs were basically glorified calculators with blinking lights, yet they birthed some of the most groundbreaking experiences in gaming history. Today, we're diving into the wild, pixelated world of the 80s PC scene, and I'm not just here to list games. I'm here to unpack why these titles still haunt our collective gaming consciousness decades later. From dungeon crawlers that felt like stepping into a Tolkien novel to platformers that redefined what interactive even meant, these games didn't just entertain, they rewired how we think about storytelling, freedom, and multiplayer chaos. Let's get into it. Take a second to imagine this. You're sitting at a dusty CRT monitor, your hands trembling over a joystick, and suddenly you're not just playing a game, you're living a story. That's the magic of Maniac Mansion, right? Lucasfilm Games didn't just make a point-and-click adventure, they built a haunted house that felt like it had a pulse. And here's the kicker, the game's multiple endings weren't just a gimmick. They forced players to confront the idea that every choice mattered, even if it meant watching a character get vaporized by a lava pit. What makes this really interesting is how it laid the groundwork for modern narrative games. These days, we talk about branching storylines like they're revolutionary, but Maniac Mansion was doing that in 1987 with pixel art and a sense of humor that still cracks me up. It's wild to think that the same studio that gave us Monkey Island started with a game where you could accidentally kill your best friend. Now, let's talk about the game that might have invented the concept of sandbox before the term even existed, Starflight. This isn't just some space simulator, it's a full-fledged sci-fi epic where you're not just shooting aliens, you're negotiating with them, trading resources, and building a crew that feels like your own. I mean, how many games in 1986 had 270 star systems to explore? That's more than the Milky Way has planets. And here's the thing, Starflight didn't just give you freedom, it gave you responsibility. You weren't just a space pirate, you were a diplomat, a traitor, and sometimes, a warlord. It's fascinating how this game, which felt like a precursor to No Man's Sky, was running on hardware that couldn't even render a decent texture. The fact that it managed to do all this while still feeling cohesive is a testament to what early developers could achieve when they weren't limited by modern expectations. But what about the games that pushed the boundaries of what a platformer could be? Enter Prince of Persia, the game that made me realize that platforming wasn't just about jumping on turtles. This wasn't Pitfall with a fancy haircut. It was a psychological thriller wrapped in a side-scrolling adventure. The rotoscoped animation? Genius. It made the prince feel like a real person, not just a pixelated blob. And the time limit? Oh, the time limit. It wasn't just a gimmick, it was a mechanic that forced players to think strategically. You couldn't just rush through levels, you had to plan, adapt, and sometimes, accept that you'd fail. That's the beauty of it. It's a game that taught me patience, and honestly, I think that's why it still resonates today. In an era of instant gratification, Prince of Persia was a reminder that difficulty can be a form of art. Then there's the cult classic that should have been a household name, MIDI Maze. I'll admit, the smiley face avatars look ridiculous now, but back in '87, this was a multiplayer FPS that felt like a party. Imagine 16 friends huddled around a network of Atari STs, screaming as they dodged laser fire and tried to outmaneuver each other in a maze. It's the original Call of Duty but with more chaos and less gore. What's wild is how it laid the foundation for multiplayer shooters. You know what's even cooler? The level editor. This wasn't just a game, it was a playground. People were creating their own maps, sharing them with friends, and basically inventing the concept of user-generated content before it had a name. It's a reminder that sometimes, the most fun games aren't the ones with the best graphics, they're the ones that let you build something together. And finally, let's not forget Dungeon Master, the game that turned first-person dungeon crawling into an art form. This wasn't just another hack-and-slash title, it was a game that made you feel like an adventurer, not a button masher. The dynamic skill system? That's what made it stand out. You weren't just leveling up, you were evolving. Every decision you made shaped your character in real time. It's like the Dark Souls of its time, but with more monsters and fewer fireballs. The fact that it was released in 1987 and still feels fresh today is a testament to how ahead of its time it was. It's a game that taught me that immersion isn't about high-end graphics, it's about making every action feel meaningful. So, what does all this mean? These games weren't just products of their time, they were blueprints for the future. They forced developers to think creatively, pushed the limits of technology, and gave players experiences that still stick with us. If you take a step back and think about it, the 80s PC scene wasn't just about nostalgia, it was about innovation. These games didn't just entertain, they challenged us to imagine what was possible. And that, my friends, is why they're still relevant today. What do you think? Are there any 80s PC games that you think deserve more recognition? Drop your thoughts below, and let's keep the conversation going.